We've had our wedding clothes clean, ready in the closet. We've got our marriage license filled out, the application. We've got our rings, and we're on a hold.
Michigan, Ohio, Tennessee, and Kentucky. Lower court rulings in all of these states upheld the decision of the Supreme Court from 2013. Gay marriage was a constitutional right. And all of that came apart in the last 24 hours as a federal appeals court went nose to nose with the Supremes and ensured this is going right back inside the Beltway and soon. Welcome to Midpoint. Associate Law Professor at the New York School of Law, Director at the Institute for Information Law and Policy, and Legal Editor at Toll Road, the award-winning LGBT news and political website where he writes a weekly column on gay rights. Ezra Waldman joins us. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
What was your immediate response as soon as you heard that the appeals court was sending this right back?
Well, I wasn't too surprised, but when I read the opinion, my first reaction was this is absolutely shameful. The judge's opinion was, as the dissent said, not even based on substantive law. He seemed to claim that his hands were tied, even though every other federal appellate court has said that these bans are clearly unconstitutional. In this case, the judge seemed to say that, well, because the voters in these states voted overwhelmingly for a ban on same-sex marriage, that he could do nothing. But really, all that is abdicating his judicial responsibility, and that is utterly shameful.
Why is it shameful, though? And again, I'm sure you hear this, and many people ask the same question. Should it not be the people in the state, and again, this is the other side, those are the people who should decide it, and the federal government should not be deciding this?
Well, there are many areas in which a popular vote would not necessarily be the end of the story. So you could imagine a group of people getting together and saying, well, we're going to pass a law to ban African Americans from serving in certain jobs. We're going to ban women from holding office. And if just because a certain number of people get together and make those decisions does not necessarily mean that those laws are constitutional or just or in line with our democratic tradition. When the framers made 3 co-equal branches of government, they specifically said that the whole point of having a federal judiciary is to make sure that the tyranny of the majority does not overtake and does not impose burdens and discriminate against the minority simply because they have the votes. So the judge here was essentially abdicating his role.
But would you not agree, though, that there are some judges who see that this is that separation of the federal government and the local governments, and at least that's what they're trying to use here? They're saying that the people want it, it can't be forced on us by the government.
But that's not the end of the story.
Sure.
Anyone could argue that. And that argument certainly rings true, and it certainly has a role in our longstanding democratic tradition. But that's not the end of the story. Just because a law was passed, just because voters voted, doesn't necessarily mean that that result is just. We have checks and balances. Part of that story, part of the separation of powers is not only the power of the people and the power of state legislatures to make laws, but that there is a judiciary that says that, well, some of those laws are not appropriate and some of those laws are unconstitutional, anti-democratic. So to only rely on the power of the people to vote is privileging only one part of the American democratic tradition, and it seems clear that this judge is doing that because he likes the result and doesn't want to bother with the rest of the situation.
I have about 45 seconds left. Would it be your opinion then that, quite frankly, from the LGBT community, tell America that this is a lost cause eventually, that there will be same-sex marriage in America, it's going to happen, and you think that, frankly, at this point, people should just realize that that's going to be the eventuality?
Well, there's a lot more work to be done. We have to go to the Supreme Court. We have to get a nationwide decision. We have to get a Supreme Court decision on this for a nationwide freedom to marry.
But you think it will be an eventuality, though? I guess that's my point. You feel from your side.
I think we're going to win. There is no way that the Supreme Court is going to undermine the decision that it recently made to allow marriage equality in more than half the states. So the Supreme Court is not going to undermine that, but there's still a lot of work to be done.
All right, and here comes the battle all over again. It starts anew with the Supremes. Ari, Ezra, Waldman, thank you so much for your comments. I'll look forward to speaking to you again.
Thank you. I look forward to that as well.
All right, short break, and we return with not one, but two members from one of the most impactful and important families in American politics, Callista and Newt Gingrich. And at 43 minutes after the hour, we'll go inside the Beltway with John Gizzi for details on an interesting breakfast. It's on Midpoint.